How exactly do you beat an enemy who has gotten very powerful and insurmountable from eating 2 very powerful devil fruits, when all you've got is nothing compared to his? In this video, we'll be giving a theory on how Blackbeard, one of the most powerful villains in One Piece, can be defeated. For this purpose, I'll be going over the account of Blackbeard's life from where he joined the Whitebeard pirates. Marshall D. Teach is not only one of the most dangerous and most powerful characters in One Piece, but he is arguably one of the most mysterious. Teach joined the Whitebeard pirates when he was only 12 years old, when Whitebeard took him as a full-fledged son. But this was only a part of Blackbeard's master plan. All he ever wanted was to find the Yami Yami no Mi devil fruit, and he knew joining the Whitebeard pirates would give him a better chance of finding the fruit. 2 years after he joined the Whitebeard pirates, there was a battle between the Whitebeard pirates and the Roger pirates, which lasted for 3 days and 3 nights before they ended up as friends and even exchanged gifts. That was where Buggy and Shanks, which were members of the Rogers crew, first met Blackbeard and discovered something strange about him. Buggy told Shanks that he heard a rumor that Teach didn't sleep at all throughout the 3 days and night battle. He added that there was a rumor that Blackbeard has never slept in his entire life and didn't even need sleep at all. Shanks said he would be having much fun being able to do that, but Buggy called his attention to his observation and concluded that Teach must be a monster. Since then, Shanks began to pay close attention to Blackbeard. Well, that may be true, and of course fascinating, but whether he has slept or not in his entire life is not our concern. We gotta find a way to beat that guy. His service to the Whitebeard ended up when Thatch, the 4th Division commander, found the Yami Yami no Mi devil fruit, which he had always sought, for that made him to even stay with the Whitebeard pirates that long. The rule in the Whitebeard pirates is that whoever finds a devil fruit would also become its user. But Teach wouldn't allow someone else to become its user. Not after patiently staying for over 2 decades. He killed Thatch, stole the Yami Yami no Mi devil fruit, and abandoned the Whitebeard pirates to form his crew, which he called the Blackbeard pirates. After adopting the new name Blackbeard, Ace, in anger, then took on the mission to find Blackbeard and kill him to avenge his dead crewmate. Whitebeard warned Ace about this, as it wasn't likely to be a good one for him, but Ace still went on anyway. Both Luffy and Blackbeard had one thing in common at least. They wanted to become the king of the pirates. Well, Blackbeard has an even bigger dream. Luffy didn't know him as Blackbeard here, though. When Blackbeard found out that Luffy's alabaster bounty had risen to 300 million berries, he sought to catch and steal it from him so he could make a name for himself to be named a warlord. However, before Blackbeard could get to Luffy, Ace tracks him on Banero Island, ready to avenge Thatch. Blackbeard tried convincing him instead to join his crew so they can take over the world together. But Ace wouldn't partner with a traitor. They both started to fight, and that's the first time Blackbeard would show how powerful the Yami Yami no Mi devil fruit is. The Yami Yami no Mi power is a darkness power that acts as gravity. Blackbeard told Ace that it is a very rare Logia fruit and is the most dangerous of all the Logia powers there are. It can suck in anything within its path. Blackbeard created a very large black hole with the darkness that sucked the whole town and even buildings into it, and then released the destroyed remains through what he called liberation. Well, Ace didn't even budge an inch. He made up his mind to bring Blackbeard to justice, and nothing was going to stop him. Not even Whitebeard's warning did. Being also a devil fruit user, he began launching his fiery attacks at Blackbeard. His attacks started hurting Blackbeard, rather than passing through him as they normally would with the Logia fruit users. This was strange to him, as Logia fruit users aren't usually affected by physical attacks. They could just turn their bodies completely into their powers and not be affected by attacks. For instance, Ace's body, also being a Logia user, was completely made of fire. Blackbeard told Ace that he couldn't turn his body into darkness as other Logia users did. His darkness absorbs everything, even physical attacks, and he feels pain. This seemed like an advantage for Ace, He just needed to continue raining strikes at Blackbeard, and he might be able to defeat him. But it wasn't as he expected. That was not all there was about Blackbeard's Yami Yami no Mi fruit power. Blackbeard activated a black vortex, a very powerful dark gravity, which allows him to pull the body of devil fruit users to himself till he can touch them, preventing them from using all their power so he can cause damage to them. Ace was surprised that he could be affected, but he continued to fight him and tried to avoid physical contact with Blackbeard. However, the black vortex was just too powerful for him. Blackbeard defeated Ace and handed him over to the Marines, which earned him the Warlord of the Sea title he was seeking. In that case, what he could have done was to take Blackbeard's offer to join the Blackbeard crew. Just as Blackbeard did with the Whitebeard crew to achieve his goal, he would work with the Blackbeard pirates and get Blackbeard to trust him enough. Maybe he would even get an offer for a position too. He would wait till there was the right opportunity to carry out his mission and then escape after. Bingo! I call it the Blackbeard technique. That would have taken time though, but I guess he wanted quick revenge, so he didn't think about that. If you must beat an unconventional man, you've got to use some unconventional means, you know. Luffy heard that his brother Ace had been captured by the Navy, so he snuck into Impel Down to go rescue him. However, Luffy discovered that Ace had already been taken to the Navy headquarters, and he decided to go there too. Now the challenge was that he needed to break out of the Impel Down, which he snuck into, and that wouldn't be as easy. You know, the prison guards wouldn't say, "Thanks for coming, it was great having you at our base." He needed to break through from level 6 back to 1 before he could finally break out. In his attempt to escape, with other prisoners, he met Blackbeard. Well, he still didn't know it was Blackbeard until one of the prisoners, Jinbei, identified him. Luffy got angry when he discovered that it was he who handed over his brother to the Marines after all. Blackbeard told Luffy that he would have been killed if not for Ace. Then Luffy got angrier and used his Gum Gum Power Punch on Blackbeard, which threw him off. As Luffy tried approaching Blackbeard again, Blackbeard used his black vortex to draw Luffy to his hand before slamming him to the ground. Luffy returned to his feet, ready to use his powers again, but he discovered that he was bleeding, which was strange. Luffy's body became rubber after he ate the Gum Gum Devil Fruit, so he can't bleed. But why was he bleeding? He must have wondered. Blackbeard told him that his black vortex also absorbs devil fruit powers when he makes a physical contact with the user, making the user unable to use all his powers. That was how he could beat his brother Ace, as devil fruit powers are nothing before him. Luffy then tried to fight Blackbeard again, but Jinbei stopped him and advised him like a father would advise his little boy, telling him he shouldn't waste his time and energy there. Come to think of it, what exactly was Luffy trying to do? Does he have a death wish or something? Come on, Luffy. You still have to break out and save Ace, yet you just want to fight blindly and die? This is the guy who defeated his unbeatable brother, and here is Luffy launching an attack at him without thinking it through when he obviously can't beat him. What the hell is with these guys just fighting on impulse without a definite plan? In this case, what Luffy should have done was to just focus on breaking out and leave the fighting till another time when he has a better chance. Then, after breaking out and saving Ace, they can both find out more about Blackbeard and know what his abilities and weaknesses are. Considering that Ace couldn't even beat him, with the information gathered about Blackbeard, they can then start planning on how to infiltrate his crew and use his weaknesses to their advantage. Well, let's thank Jinbei for his fatherly advice that came just in time. Maybe Luffy would have died. Why was Blackbeard at Impel Down anyway? It was all part of his master plan. Blackbeard had used his new status as a warlord and his alliance with the world government to break into Impel Down so he could release some of the most dangerous and powerful criminals and recruit them to the crew. This was the only reason he decided to become a warlord in the first place. And now his tenure as a warlord had ended. He didn't need it anymore. Now, on to the next phase of the big plan. Oh wow, I'm loving this guy. He really deserves some respect. The Whitebeard pirates declare war against the world government to save Ace. However, this was also just a part of Blackbeard's plan, to get Whitebeard to be weak during the war so he and his crew could easily kill him and steal his devil fruit powers. Ace was killed during the battle anyway. Blackbeard sailed to Marineford with his crew to carry out the next plan, to attack Whitebeard. At this time, Whitebeard was already severely injured and almost dying. Whitebeard had the strongest paramecia devil fruit in his possession, the Guro Guro no Mi devil fruit. This devil fruit power can cause a terrible earthquake and is so powerful that it can destroy the whole world. Blackbeard wanted this power for himself, so he wanted to kill Whitebeard and steal it from him. They began their fight, and Blackbeard used the Black Vortex, as usual, to nullify Whitebeard's devil fruit power. Then Blackbeard started to talk and brag about his abilities, like he normally does. He said Whitebeard's powers are useless before him, and Whitebeard wouldn't be able to cause an earthquake as long as his Yami Yami no Mi powers are in action. Whitebeard forced his hand off Blackbeard's grip and used his physical weapon to slash his shoulder. Whitebeard then used his legs to hold Blackbeard's hands down and held his throat. Whitebeard told Blackbeard that his weaknesses are overconfidence and carelessness, and Blackbeard began to plead for his life, calling Whitebeard Pops and telling him he wouldn't want to kill his son. However, Whitebeard used his Guro Guro no Mi power on him, but Blackbeard didn't die. Whitebeard approached Blackbeard again, but Blackbeard ordered his crew members to shoot him, and Whitebeard died while still standing. Blackbeard would then go to do something very unthinkable, which has never been done in the history of One Piece. His crew members covered Whitebeard's body with a large black cloth, and Blackbeard went inside the covering for some moments, only to come out and he could wield the Guro Guro no Mi devil fruit power. He became the first person to have the ability to use 2 devil fruit powers at the same time, which was initially thought impossible. How exactly did he do this? There's a theory that the Yami Yami no Mi devil fruit power may have the ability to also absorb other devil fruit powers from its users, giving Blackbeard the ability to absorb the Guro Guro no Mi devil fruit. Another theory states that it is said that a devil fruit power transfers to a nearby specific fruit after the death of its user. So it was possible that Blackbeard, having great knowledge of devil fruits, took a suitable type of fruit under the black cloth, which the Guro Guro no Mi power then transferred to, giving Blackbeard the power after he consumed it. Any of these could be true, and both even may be wrong. But whichever way it happened, Blackbeard has now become what is perhaps the strongest man in the world, with barely anybody able to match his ability. He now has the most dangerous powers of the Paramecia and the Logia fruits, which leaves just the Zoan fruit power remaining for him to absorb. Well, how his body can contain the 2 devil fruit powers as opposed to the general belief is not our discussion in this video. We will only be highlighting his weaknesses and how they can take advantage of them to defeat him. If not for the Blackbeard crew members, Blackbeard could have been killed since he had been overpowered by Whitebeard. Just as Whitebeard mentioned, overconfidence in his abilities is one of his weaknesses. This makes him always brag and talk down on his opponents during a fight instead of quickly and effectively ending the fight. His overconfidence leads to his carelessness, as Whitebeard also mentioned, not taking the abilities and strengths of his opponents into consideration. These weaknesses gave Whitebeard an advantage over him, and we saw the result. Whitebeard almost defeated him. Now, using the information about Blackbeard's strengths and weaknesses, let's talk about how to defeat him. The Yami Yami no Mi devil fruit power, as we already know, is a darkness power that also works as gravity, which allows its user to absorb anything. As much as this is a strength of its power, it can also be its major weakness, since it absorbs everything, including attacks that can cause damage to its user. This was seen in the battle with Ace, where Ace's attacks were hurting Blackbeard and not passing through him like other Logia powers. Another ability of the Yami Yami no Mi power is the Black Vortex, which pulls the bodies of devil fruit users and nullifies the effects of their powers while he is touching them. The weakness of this ability is that he has to be touching the devil fruit users with his hands to effectively use this ability. This was seen when he used the Black Vortex against Ace, Luffy, and Whitebeard. He had to touch them with his hands, and not just any part of his body, before their powers could be nullified. When Whitebeard forced himself off Blackbeard's grip, he was able to use his Guro Guro no Mi power again, even while still having physical contact with him that didn't involve Blackbeard's hands. The Black Vortex also allows launching attacks at a closer range, which can do more damage to Blackbeard, as long as the opponent can free himself from Blackbeard's touch. However, the force of the Black Vortex is so powerful and would require some high-level hockey to counter its effect to be free from its hold, just as Whitebeard did before he used his physical weapon on Blackbeard. The only way Luffy can possibly beat Blackbeard is if Luffy could master the highest level of hockey. That's just one of our theories, since Luffy won't be able to use his Gum Gum Devil Fruit, as it will have no effect on Blackbeard due to his Black Vortex. Also, what's the point in trying to fight him alone? An alliance could be formed between the pirate groups for the sole purpose of defeating who we can call one of their biggest threats in the world. A similar action was taken about 38 years ago when Zebek launched an attack on a mysterious island called God Valley. There were multiple celestial dragons on the island at that time, and to protect God Valley and the dragons, the world government went to the extent of teaming up with Gold D. Rogers, the future pirate king. Both Rogers and Garp worked together as a team to defeat Zebek. I think Luffy and Shanks can adopt the same method in defeating Blackbeard. Shanks, the captain of the Red Hair Pirates, is a Yonko and a Haki beast. He has a very deep connection with Blackbeard, having a link to him in the past. He had always suspected that Blackbeard was up to something while Blackbeard was still with Whitebeard. He's even had a past clash with Blackbeard, which was when he got the 3 marks on his face. Since then, he believed Blackbeard was stronger than he showed himself to be. Shanks was the one who warned Whitebeard about Blackbeard when Ace was going after him. He hasn't shown any devil fruit power and may not be a devil fruit user, but he has a very strong haki, which could be needed in defeating Blackbeard. Coupled with Luffy's abilities, the unbeatable Blackbeard would be defeated. What do you think of this review? And what's your opinion on how Blackbeard could be defeated? Leave a comment below.